Discover how a single mom's blind date disaster turned into a life-changing encounter with a kind-hearted veteran. The diner was buzzing, the air thick with the comforting smell of pancakes and coffee, when Sarah walked in, her heart pounding like a war drum. Tonight was the night she'd finally blown away that layer of dust and grown a little adventurous with a blind date, set up by her relentless friend, Linda. But the moment she laid eyes on Jason, arrogant businessman with a glint of judgment in his eye, her excitement fizzled into an uneasy flutter. "Look at you," he scoffed as they settled into the booth. "Must be hard running 2 jobs. Does the diner pay well?" His laughter rippled through the air, sharp and caustic, leaving Sarah's cheeks burning like fire. Time stretched painfully as she defended her choices, but they felt hollow, edged with a thin layer of shame. She could almost hear Emma's voice in her mind, a reminder of the fierce independence she was raised to embody. But a heavy weight sunk in her chest every time she acknowledged her reality. She wasn't just a single mom struggling financially, she was a woman fighting fiercely for her daughter's future. As she left the diner, tears stung her eyes, trickling down her cheeks. Doubt crept in. Was she ever enough? Would Emma see her as a failure? Just then, as she wiped her tears away on the fabric of her sleeve, Sarah noticed a familiar face outside the diner. It was Dave, an amiable vet known for giving back to the community that had nurtured him. She'd watched him help kids fix bikes, share meals with the homeless, and lend a hand wherever he could. Instinctively, the fog of humiliation began to clear. "Rough night?" Dave asked with a warm smile, his eyes reflecting genuine concern. She nodded, suddenly feeling brave enough to share her struggles. "You know, I'm just trying my best to give Emma a shot, but sometimes, it feels like the world is against me." As he began to share his own plight against the local school board, how they cut funding for critical education initiatives, Sarah felt that spark she had longed for. "You should speak out," he encouraged, and her heart raced. Could she really stand up for something greater? Before they could finish their heartfelt conversation, Sarah was jolted by the murmurs of locals who dismissed her efforts, a dismissal that stung like a bitter wind. But it was the laughter of a passerby, the whispers veiled in contempt about her status, that finally made her blood boil. She was tired of being seen as just a struggling waitress or a burden. Then, at the town meeting, the atmosphere was electric. Sarah stood before her community, flanked by Dave. Passion surged within her. She could see their faces, the people who had quietly endured the same struggles she did, who had watched her fight for Emma, and suddenly, she was no longer alone. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." But as Sarah felt the weight of support lifting her, dark clouds loomed. The town's elite were preparing to strike, ready to undermine her credibility and tear apart the moment she had fought so hard to create. A chill ran through her, making her doubt herself all over again. Would she find the strength to protect the light she ignited within her community? Would the mounting pressure snuff it out before it even flickered? As her resolve deepened, she realized this was just the beginning. She had to fight not just for herself but for all the families depending on the hope she was building. As Sarah stood at the podium, her voice quaked just slightly, but she steadied herself. The murmurs of doubt faded, replaced by the thumping rhythm of her heart, urging her onward. The eyes of the townspeople watched her closely, their faces a mixture of curiosity and skepticism. She could feel the weight of their expectations pressing down, but alongside that pressure grew a rush of adrenaline. "I'm here," she began, her voice gaining strength, "because our kids deserve more. Emma deserves more." The room shifted, some nodded in agreement, while others shifted uncomfortably, arms crossed. Education isn't just a privilege for those who can afford it. It should be a right. The crowd broke into scattered applause, and Sarah felt a flicker of hope. She caught Dave's supportive gaze from the back of the room, his smile reassuring. But just as she was gaining momentum, she noticed a few faces in the front, members of the town council, their expressions narrowed and hostile. Who is she to speak out? A voice piped up, cold and dripping with disdain. It was Mrs. Klein, a long-standing member known for her rigid stance on town funding. A waitress? What makes her qualified to discuss education policy? The air chilled as silence fell over the audience. Sarah's heart sank momentarily. That familiar sting of humiliation rushed back, threatening to drown her in doubt once more. But just then, she recalled Dave's words. Speak out. No, she said firmly, her voice rising above the whispers. I'm not just a waitress. I'm a mother. I know what it's like to scramble for every dollar. I know what it's like to come home exhausted and still have to smile for my child. Enough of this. Mrs. Klein interrupted, her voice sharp. This isn't about your personal struggles. We're here to discuss funding issues, not your sob story. The townspeople shifted, some leaning closer, intrigued. Sarah could see it now, the stirring of solidarity among them. But it is about our stories, she pressed on. It's about the parents who work 3 jobs to send their kids to school. It's about the teachers who give their all, only to be handed cuts. You can't ignore our collective voice. Fingers tightened around the edges of the podium as Sarah gripped it, calling forth every ounce of courage she had. Murmurs of agreement rolled through the room. Just then, a young woman stood from the back, courage sparking behind her eyes. I'm a teacher, and I've seen firsthand what these cuts do. I support Sarah. The room erupted, shouts of encouragement replacing the earlier cynicism. But as cheers filled her ears, Sarah spotted a glimmer of movement at the corner of her eye. It was Jace, stepping in from the back, his expression guarded yet contemplative. What was he doing here? The mix of emotions bubbled uneasily in her stomach. Had he come to gloat? Someone should keep her in check, he remarked to a few of his friends lingering beside him, but his tone lacked its usual bite. There seemed to be a hint of uncertainty beneath his bravado. The scorn she had seen earlier was gone, replaced with younger curiosity, and she could sense a change within him. Sarah took a deep breath. Maybe there was more to this night, more to every struggle she faced. If she could stand here, voice trembling but firm, then perhaps she could inspire others to join in her fight. Would Dave continue to support her? Would the townspeople rally around her cause? As her heartbeat quickened, Sarah made a silent vow to herself. She wouldn't back down. Not now. But just as she finished her speech, a startling news alert flashed on the screen behind her, the headline screaming an update about the town's budget cuts. It spotlighted a call for a quick vote that threatened to undermine everything they had spoken about. What unexpected twist lay ahead? Would their voices reach the decision-makers, or would they once again fade into silence? The tension in the room thickened, a pulse of anxiety rising with every second as Sarah's eyes flicked back to the screen. Words blurred together, but the message struck clear: a vote was being rushed, and the implications could be dire. Are they really going to do this? She thought, fury mixing with fear. The murmurs grew louder. Conversations ignited in pockets across the crowd, and she could feel the unease simmering just beneath the surface. Let us not allow them to silence us. Sarah shouted over the growing noise. She searched the faces in the crowd, looking for allies, for anyone willing to take a stand. Together, we can make them listen. We can't let them dictate our children's future. The applause grew, thunderous now, wrapping around her like a warm embrace. But she saw Jace shake his head, his brows furrowing with something that looked like disapproval. What did he know that she didn't? Suddenly, Jace pushed away from his group, stepping forward. The crowd silenced, surprised by his movement. Sarah, he called out, his voice surprisingly steady. What do you really expect to change? It's just town politics money. They won't listen to us. Then why are you here? Sarah shot back, a surge of desperation and defiance mingling in her chest. Don't you care about the kids? About your future? You can't just give up. He hesitated, his expression softening. He started, but the words got swallowed up by the crowd's noise. Sarah could see a glimmer of conflict in his eyes, a battle between doubt and something else, maybe even hope. Please, she implored, her heart racing. Don't let fear hold you back. What do we have, if not each other? Another voice joined in, an older man at the back, his face lined with years of hard work. She's right. I've seen too many kids slip through the cracks because no one stood up to fight. We need to join together. A wave of agreement echoed through the room, voices rising in unity. The earlier cynicism began to wash away, replaced by a sense of purpose, a shared determination. But the clock was ticking. Sarah knew they had to act fast. Let's take a stand right now. Who's with me? She raised her hand, and it felt like lifting a beacon in the storm. Hands began to rise, one by one, until the room pulsed with energy. Let's show them we matter. Shouted the young teacher from before, her eyes sparkling with passion. We won't let them vote us away. As that wave of support surged forward, Sarah felt a sudden gust of hope ignite within her. But even amid the cheers, she felt Jace's eyes still focused on her. Was he truly with them, or was this just a fleeting moment for him? Before she could think further, the mayor stepped up to the front, his face grim as he raised a hand for silence. We have heard enough of this noise. We will proceed with the vote. Panic surged in the room, but then Sarah's eyes landed on Dave, his face calm yet determined, and she drew strength. Let's make our voices heard. She shouted again, her resolve amplified by the support around her. They couldn't lose this momentum. Just then, the lights flickered, and the projector shut off, leaving the room in darkness for just a heartbeat. Gasps filled the air. When the lights returned, Sarah's heart dropped because standing beside the mayor was a news reporter, camera rolling and capturing every moment. They were about to go public, and she could feel the spotlight hone in on her. Was this the chance they needed to rally the townspeople for real change? Or would fear snuff out the flame they had just ignited? As chants began to echo off the walls, Sarah's heart raced faster than ever. This was turning into something bigger, more than she'd ever anticipated. Would they rise as one community, or would the darkness consume their spark? The noise in the room surged, crashing like waves against a shore. Sarah could feel the weight of hundreds of eyes on her, and it filled her with both courage and an undercurrent of fear. Amid the cheers and the clamoring voices, the tension twisted in her gut. They needed to act now. Jace shifted his stance, visible discomfort etched in his features. Did he really doubt the impact they could make? It gnawed at her. But she couldn't lose sight of the mission. Not now, when hope flickered like a candle in the gale. Listen. She urged, raising her voice to pierce the chaos. This is our moment. We are more than just numbers on a balance sheet. We are parents, teachers, friends, part of a community that deserves to be heard. The crowd echoed her sentiment, shouts of approval filling the air like fireworks lighting up the night sky. If only for this moment, they were a collective, a jigsaw puzzle that fit together with purpose, each individual piece essential. Let's take that purpose and show them we won't back down. Sarah shouted, her heart pounding with every word. The momentum was tangible, wrapping around her like a warm blanket. Yet the mayor stood defiantly, arms crossed. You all think this is about your voices? His voice was slick, usually commanding, but today it felt brittle. This is about budgets. This is about maintaining order. A ripple of discontent spread through the crowd at his dismissive tone. Order? someone shouted back. What about our children? Yes. Sarah thought, clinging to the electric energy in the air. They were awakening. Did you hear that? She turned towards those near her. This is beyond us. It's about the future of everyone who exists in this town. Together, we can refuse to be ignored. As she spoke, she glimpsed Jace's expression change slightly. The shadows of doubt began to lift. Was he feeling it too, the shift in collective resolve? She couldn't look away, a curious connection sparking despite the chaotic atmosphere. Then, a deep voice rang out from the back, steady and resilient. We need to vote, not just for ourselves but for the generations that will come after us. It was Dave, and with his words, the crowd roared back in agreement. Let us make our spirit infectious. Sarah encouraged, rallying everyone. We must express our anger but also our hope. This is our chance. We can't let it slip through our fingers. In that moment, the lights flickered again, causing a collective intake of breath. A second later, the power abruptly cut out. The screens went dark, and murmurs rippled through the audience. Anxiety gripped her as shadows fell, but something within her refused to cower. Stay with me. She shouted into the void, her voice carrying urgency. When the lights come back, we will be ready. Don't let fear consume you. A chorus of agreement surged up, rising like an anthem from the dark. That raw determination brought a fierce glow to her spirit. Suddenly, the lights blinked back on, and the crowd erupted into cheers and applause. But then the weight of reality struck again. The mayor signaled the news crew. They were ready to announce the vote. With the camera rolling, Sarah felt the gravity of the moment squarely on her shoulders. This was not just about the vote, it was about bringing the community's heart back to life. She took a deep breath and stepped forward. Jace's eyes were locked on her, a mix of uncertain admiration and cautious optimism. Would he join her? Let this be our rallying cry. Not for what is to come, but for what we believe in. Sarah called out, her voice steady. She could feel the heat of the crowd, the roaring passion filling her with strength. But was this truly enough? As the countdown to the vote began, every heartbeat felt monumental. Would they raise their voices once more as one, or would they retreat into silence when it mattered most? She stepped back, waiting for the moment to unfold. What awaited them in that next heartbeat? The countdown echoed in her ears, each second stretching into an eternity. Sarah felt the weight of the crowd's anticipation, their hopes, dreams, and fears all intertwined like a tapestry. Every moment felt significant as they waited to see if change was truly within their reach. 3, 2, 1. The announcement was imminent. Sarah glanced toward Jace, whose face was a mix of courage and uncertainty. She wished she could read his thoughts. Would he fully embrace their cause, or would he waver at the finish line? The tension was palpable. As the mayor lifted the microphone to his lips, a hush fell over the room. Folks, we are about to take a vote that could determine the future of our community, he began, but his words felt hollow, like echoes in a cavern. They needed more than his rehearsed lines. They needed clarity, honesty, and urgency. Let us show him what we're made of. Sarah shouted, her heart racing. She could see a few faces in the crowd beginning to rally behind her, fists clenching, nodding in agreement. The spark of defiance lit the air. Together. A voice called from the back, and soon others picked it up. Together. Even Jace caught the spirit, his shoulders straightening as he joined the chant. It flowed through the audience like wildfire, an infectious energy surging to life. The mayor's confident facade began to crack, realization dawning that this wasn't just a routine vote. The members of the crowd began to chant in unison. Vote for our kids. Vote for our future. Each voice grew stronger than the last, as the rhythm of their collective heartbeat echoed through the hall. It felt as if they were unified marble, each individual contributing to the strength of the entire formation. As the chants filled the air, Sarah felt tears welling, tears of gratitude, of pride, but also of fear. Because what would happen if their voices weren't enough? She glanced at Jace again. He was watching her with awe now, and that connection felt like an invisible thread tying them together. Now is our chance, people. She bellowed, raising her arms. This is where we take back our power. A swell of energetic cheers erupted, and for a moment, she forgot about everything else. The world beyond that room faded. It was just them, a united front against the indifferent city officials. The mayor could see it too, his discomfort tangible. Let us take the vote, he finally relented, his voice faltering as he glanced at the crowd's fervor. A huge wave of encouragement erupted in response to his words. When the mayor's hand hovered over the button to begin voting, time seemed to tread lightly. Everyone leaned in, breaths held tight. The anticipation was electric, and Sarah felt the weight of it settle on her chest. Remember why we're here. She cried out, voice piercing the gathering tension. With a nod from the mayor, the motion initiated, and a digital screen began showing the results. Numbers began to tick upward, each passing moment feeling like a lifetime. The crowd counted down together, 10. 9. 8. Love for their cause, their children, the future spurred them on. Was it happening? Were they really about to create change? As the countdown dwindled to a close, hope filled the air. Until wait. A sudden voice cut through the anticipation, sharp and clear. All eyes turned to see a figure stepping forward from the back of the room. It was one of the council members, eyes wide with something akin to panic. This can't happen, why not? The crowd roared back, ready to defend everything they stood for. As the words hung in the air, Sarah realized that this was only the beginning. The battle wasn't just against budgets or orders, it was a fight for every voice in the community to matter. And that was more powerful than any numbers game. What would this council member reveal that could change everything? Would it shatter their hopes or fuel their fire even more? Sarah held her breath, bracing for whatever came next. The hush in the room felt heavy as all eyes focused on the council member. Sarah could see the fluctuating emotions, a mix of dread and disbelief on the faces of those gathered. Who was this person to stand in their way now? The air crackled with uncertainty as people started to murmur among themselves, the previously electric atmosphere beginning to deflate. Please, listen. The council member pleaded, raising a hand to silence the crowd. What you're trying to do, it's dangerous. If the vote passes, there will be repercussions you don't understand. Her voice shook slightly. You think you're fighting for your children, but enough. Jace shouted, stepping forward. His voice pierced through the growing noise as he faced the council member directly. You're not going to scare us into submission. We know what we're fighting for. The crowd cheered at his defiance, but Sarah felt a twist of anxiety in her stomach. What kind of repercussions? Did they really know what they were asking for? She sought Jace's eyes, hoping he could read her doubts. Instead, they burned with determination, igniting something within her as well. Repercussions? Sarah echoed, pushing through the crowd. Do you mean to tell us that our children's future is nothing but a gamble? We're tired of living in fear. The council member opened her mouth to argue, but the crowd wasn't having it. Shouts of support rose, pushing Sarah's emotional tide higher. We deserve to know. Tell us what you're hiding. For a moment, there was silence, the kind that danced at the edges of tension. Then the council member took a deep breath, mustering the courage to reveal what had to be said. It's not just about this vote. There are higher stakes involved. If you succeed, we risk losing funding from the state. Schools could close. Programs could be cut. People could lose their jobs. A ripple of uncertainty washed over the crowd, morphing cheers into whispers of disbelief and worry. Would they actually risk the livelihoods of families they cared for so deeply? Sarah felt a crack in her own resolve. This wasn't just about her fight, it was about everyone's fight. Stop scaring us with threats. Someone shouted, but doubt lingered in the air. The phrase, "what if?" floated around, reminding everyone of the fragile line they tiptoed. Maybe we don't know every consequence, Sarah addressed the crowd, her heart thumping wildly. But we do know staying silent hasn't worked. We deserve a chance to be heard, to fight for our future. She felt Jace's hand on her back, steadying her. It felt like a grounding force in a storm of emotions. One by one, faces in the crowd lit back up with determination, their fear transforming into something fiercer. Vote for our future. Vote for our kids. They echoed again, this time with renewed vigor. The rhythm returned, pushing back against the uncertainty. The council member raised her hands again, but no one was listening anymore. Sarah pushed forward, riding the wave of unbreakable spirits. If we dive into this together, we can find solutions. We can make it work. We only need to trust each other. The mayor hesitated, his eyes darting between the council member and the crowd, unsure of what to do next. The tension grew. Would he buckle under the pressure of so many voices? Let us take another look. He finally bellowed, and the crowd erupted in a cheer, but Sarah's heart still raced with doubt. Would we truly find a way? She wondered. What if this was about more than just a vote? What if they were igniting a fire that would change everything? As hope and fear swirled together, the impending decision hung like a sword over their heads, each heartbeat counting down to an uncertain future. What would it take to unite them fully? Would they discover their real power when they needed it most? And more importantly, could they trust themselves to navigate the path ahead? The tension in the room morphed into a palpable hum as people turned to one another, their faces a tapestry of worry and determination. Sarah could feel the heat of expectation rising, each pulse of energy like a drumbeat urging them toward a collective decision. She sensed the crowd's momentum, it was surging, ready to redefine their future. Suddenly, a familiar figure stepped forward. It was Laura, a single mother who had been at the forefront of this movement since the beginning. Her presence commanded attention. We've fought too hard to let fear stop us now, she declared, her voice ringing clear and true. What does it mean for us to live without risk? What's life without pushing against the walls that try to keep us from our dreams? There was applause, a desperate need to cling to hope. Sarah felt encouraged. They were weaving together a shared narrative of strength, their individual stories forming a patchwork of resilience. Laura's words sank into her heart, sparking something deep within. But doubt found its way back. What if we fail? What if we take this leap, and it all comes crashing down? The whisper began again, soft yet sinister, thrumming at her core. The mayor shifted uncomfortably, glancing at his council member. If we don't consider the potential fallout, he began, but the crowd drowned him out. No more excuses. Jace rallied. We have to be brave. Our kids deserve more than just a safe route, they deserve a fighting chance. The energy intensified, wrapping around Sarah like a warm blanket on a winter's night. The fear was still there, lurking, but she could feel the courage rising in its place, stoking the flames of their shared resolve. Right. She shouted, her voice breaking through the din. We can't let this be our only fight. This is just the beginning. Together, we can rally resources, find allies, and make connections. More voices joined in, echoing her thoughts. In that moment, it felt as if they were breathing life into a stronger vision for their community. She could see new excitement bubbling beneath the surface, seeping into the weary hearts that had prevailed up until now. But at that very moment, a deafening sound erupted from outside, a rumble that shook the windows, magnifying the uncertainty that clung to the air like a storm cloud. Gasps erupted from the crowd, startling them into silence. Is that? Someone stammered, their voice thin with fear. Sarah's heart raced. Instinctively, she glanced toward Jace as he scanned the room, searching faces for answers. Then, as if triggered by a cue, a different kind of energy surged through them, curiosity mixed with the apprehension of the unknown. The mayor stepped toward the door, the crowd parting for him as if they understood this moment was pivotal. "Let us find out what is happening," he urged, but uncertainty flickered across his face. With adrenaline coursing through her veins, Sarah followed him outside. She could hear attention-grabbing shouts mingling with the roar of engines, and she felt a sense of solidarity binding her to the people still within the room. Whatever lay ahead, they would face it together. She turned, scanning the crowd for familiar faces. And just like that, a realization flooded her mind. This was their chance to take control, to become the architects of their destiny. Whatever the noise represented, it was a call to action, a wake-up call. Together, she whispered to the night, and into the eyes of those around her. No matter what happens out there. As they stepped outside, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling of urgency, of something about to unfold that would test them in ways they couldn't yet comprehend. What awaited them beyond those doors? And would their unity hold strong when faced with the unknown? Each step felt monumental, inching closer to their fate. As they emerged into the cool night air, the sound of machinery grew louder, an ominous reminder of the unknown. The street outside was awash with lights, flickering and casting elongated shadows across the pavement. Cars lined the road as if a great event had just arrived. A hushed murmur swept through the crowd, merging excitement with fear. "Over there!" someone shouted, pointing toward a line of brightly colored trucks lined up near the park, each one decked out in varying hues, their engines rumbling like distant thunder. Sarah squinted into the flurry of activity. It looked like food trucks, but something about the atmosphere felt charged, electric. "Are they delivering supplies?" Jace pondered aloud, stepping closer to Sarah. His eyes darted over the commotion, searching for answers. "Maybe it's a protest? An event?" she replied, her heart racing with both worry and a spark of hope. The crowd around them shifted, a wave of anticipation lapping at their senses. Suddenly, an elderly man with a thick white beard approached, gripping an oversized sign that read, "Join us. Change is here." His eyes glimmered, reflecting a youthful fervor that belied his age. "Don't be afraid, neighbors," he called out, his voice booming. "What you see is not just trucks, it's a wave of unity. A community looking to stand together." The crowd shifted once more, a new kind of energy bubbling as people raised their phones, capturing the scene. Sarah felt the warmth of 100 eyes upon her, all willing to take a chance on the unknown. "We've already taken the first step," she echoed, feeling herself lifted by the momentum. "Let us see what they're offering." Each footstep felt heavier yet lighter all at once, like they were on the edge of something monumental. They moved toward the nearest truck, its colorful canvas flapping in the wind like a flag of hope. The smell of street food wafted through the air, mingling with curiosity and promise, igniting a fire deep within her. A woman with a bright smile greeted them from behind the window, offering steaming bowls of something spicy and enticing. "Welcome. This is about more than just food. It's about community ties, togetherness, and celebrating what we can build." "What is happening here?" Laura asked, stepping forward to ask the question on everyone's mind. "This is part of a larger movement," the woman replied with enthusiasm. "We're calling all the community together to share our stories, our talents. During tough times, we create connections. Together, we redefine what it means to thrive," she added, handing out bowls. Every word was like a spark, igniting hope in the hearts of those who had come together. Sarah took a bowl, feeling the warmth seep into her palms, melding with the warmth growing in her chest. It was exhilarating. She turned to Jace and Laura. "This is it. This could be the shift we've needed." As the crowd began to gather, exchanging food and sharing laughter, she felt the weight of fear start to lift. In its place came a sense of possibility blooming among them. People were finding their voices, sharing stories, the air heavy with connection. But as the joy pulsed through her veins, a sudden loud bang echoed from the direction of the trucks, cutting through the revelry like a knife. The music stopped, and a thick silence enveloped them like a heavy fog. What was that? Someone gasped, their voice shaking as fear reignited. Sarah's heart raced as she turned to the source of the sound, dread creeping back in. We have to find out what's happening. She felt the unity of the crowd pulling them toward the unknown. Would they rise together in the face of new challenges, or would this moment fracture the hope they had built? Each second stretched like eternity, as they prepared to face whatever fear lurked in the shadows. Eyes fixed on the shadows where the bang originated, the crowd's vitality drained in an instant. Murmurs of confusion twisted through the air like a tightening coil, and Sarah felt her heart pound loudly in her chest. Anxiously, she whispered to Jace, "We need to check this out." They pushed through the throng, twisting and turning until they reached the cluster of people surrounding the nearest truck. The vibrant colors had dimmed, and the atmosphere felt heavy. Sarah's gaze turned to the truck, where the woman who had served them food was gone, replaced by frantic movement. A teenage boy stood at the back of the truck, his face pale under the glow of the streetlights. He held a fire extinguisher, but his hands trembled so much that it slipped through his fingers and clattered to the ground. "It's just a fuse. Just a blown fuse," he shouted, his voice strained. "Everything is fine." But somehow, it didn't feel fine. A knot formed in Sarah's stomach, clarity fought through layers of panic. "We should help," she urged, pushing forward. Jace and Laura followed close behind, uncertainty mixed with determination in their eyes. As they approached, another man stepped into the light, his hair wild with energy, his shirt stained with grease. "We're working on it," he barked at the crowd. "It'll just take a few moments to get things rolling again." At that moment, the elderly man with the sign reappeared, his face steady amid the chaos. "Everyone, please. Let us not lose the spirit of togetherness. We can't let fear take over." His voice rang out like a beacon, grounding everyone, reminding them of what this night had promised: a connection, a bond. Sarah felt the weight of his words. She turned to Jace and Laura, taking a deep breath, and shouted, "Let us help. Let us show them we're here." A ripple passed through the crowd. People began to break away from their murmurs, stepping closer. Others began to lift containers, dusting them off, offering to hand out food instead. Soon, laughter intermingled with the sounds of trucks coming to life again. The teenage boy, still shaky, smiled at the sudden rush of help surrounding him. The excitement that had filled the air earlier was reigniting, but this time it was fueled by cooperation and encouragement. Taking courage from this moment, Sarah lifted her bowl high, her voice clear. "Let us all share what we have. Let us make this a celebration." Gradually, the crowd echoed her sentiment, lifting their own bowls and cups, sharing their meals, approaching the trucks like a wave of unity. Fear began to dissolve, replaced by the vibrant energy of hope. But then, like an unexpected thunderstorm, a chorus of sirens wailed in the distance. The sounds grew louder, filling the air with urgency, swiftly casting shadows on the newfound jubilation. Sarah's heart sank as she turned to Jace, uncertainty creeping back in. "What's happening now?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. As the sirens drew nearer, dread pulled tight around their hearts. The very foundation of the moment was crumbling. What could this mean for their newly forged connection? What storm awaited them next? The unity they had built felt like it was under siege, and Sarah braced herself for whatever was about to unfold. The tension hung thick in the air as the sirens approached, drawing the crowd's collective breath into a gasp of anxiety. Faces turned towards each other, hearts racing, uncertain of what threat lay behind those blaring sounds. Sarah's stomach churned, a sense of foreboding creeping into her bones. "Stay strong," Jace murmured beside her, grabbing her hand instinctively. His grip felt warm and reassuring, drawing strength from one another as the sound of sirens grew louder. Then, out of the darkness, a pair of flashing lights cut through the throng, illuminating the scene. 2 police cars pulled up sharply, tires screeching against the pavement, spilling officers into the growing crowd. "What is happening here?" one officer barked, scanning the sea of nervous faces. "Nothing," the teenage boy stammered, still visibly shaken. We just had a small issue. Just a blown fuse, I swear." The hastily assembled crowd shifted, an air of uncertainty merging with rising frustration. Families were drawn together in defense of their community, but now looked like deer caught in headlights. "Is this a protest? Do you have the proper permits?" the officer demanded, a frown deepening his brow. Murmurs spread through the crowd, laced with panic. "Wait." Sarah stepped forward, gathering her thoughts like a lifeline. "We're not here to cause trouble. We're trying to unite our community. We just want to celebrate our kids and advocate for education." The officer looked at her, still uncertain, seemingly torn between his duty and the plea of a scorned community. He softened slightly, perhaps recognizing the anguish etched into the faces surrounding him. "You need to clear this area," he said slowly. "If you don't have the proper paperwork, we might have to disperse you." A murmur of dissent spread through the people. Was this it? Would all their efforts flame out before they ever truly ignited? "Not this time," Jace declared, stepping forward into the light. The crowd fell silent, captivated by his sudden bravery. "We aren't a mob, we're a family. A family trying to advocate for our children. A family refusing to be silenced any longer." His words struck like a match against tinder, igniting the crowd. They began to chant, voices rising, echoing in unison again, "We matter. Our kids matter." The officers looked taken aback, the momentum shifting as they watched. "Please," Sarah pleaded, redirecting her earnest gaze toward the remaining officers. "Look at us. We're all here to support our community. We're not looking for trouble, we just want the chance to be heard." In that moment, something shifted. The officer on the right met the eyes of his partner, an unspoken communication passing between them. "Okay," the first officer finally relented, holding up his hands as if to calm the crowd. "But keep it civil. If you're really here just for your kids, let us talk." A collective sigh of relief washed over them, hearts soaring as hope rushed back in. They had done it. This moment crystallized like a beacon. They weren't just a group of people anymore, they were a movement, a powerful tapestry woven together through shared dreams and struggles. The crowd began discussing ideas, sharing stories, and formulating a plan. With renewed energy, they signed petitions, voices merging in one consistent symphony calling for change. Sarah felt tears prick her eyes, a whirlwind of emotions coursing through her. As evening descended, under canopies of stars, neighbors shared food and laughter freely. Money became irrelevant, relationships thrived in the gentle glow of camaraderie and compassion. She spotted the elderly man again, chatting with Jace and others over a bowl of soup, laughter echoing through the crowd. Then, there it was, the sound of applause, soft and tentative at first before exploding into a standing ovation of acceptance and resilience. "That's our community." Sarah beamed as she exchanged proud glances with Jace, who squeezed her hand reassuringly. They had turned fear into an opportunity for true connection. Suddenly, from the fringes of the crowd, a familiar figure walked in, her confident stride unmistakable. It was the same woman from the food truck, her warmth radiating like the sun. "I knew you all could do it," she cried, raising her own bowl in victory. "Let us keep this energy alive. I'll share my resources, and we can organize more events. Change starts with us coming together, and it looks like you've made that happen." The fire sparked all over again as discussions swelled into plans and promises, ideas forming into actionable steps. A true community derived from shared struggles instead of division. As the mixing of voices reverberated through the air, Sarah glanced at Jace, their dreams merging in unison. No longer just a waitress or a single mom struggling alone, she was a force that had ignited change for herself, for Emma, and for everyone around her. Through tears of joy, she whispered, "We did this." "Yes," Jace responded, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear gently. "This is just the beginning." Together, they stood, weaving into the fabric of their vibrant community. As laughter mingled with plans for the future, it was clear, they had not just taken a stand, they had sparked a revolution born from hope, love, and unity. And as they looked at each other, at their friends, at their families, they knew deep down they could never go back to silence again. This was the moment they had always dreamed of, the start of true change, shared strength, and a brighter future for their children blossoming right before their eyes. Now, the future was theirs to shape. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. And don't forget to leave a like to feed the algorithm. Your support makes a difference. Comment your reactions and feelings about this incredible ending.